comparing yourself to others makes you unhappy. In modern life, people increasingly tend to compare themselves to others. When we see someone who is successful, beautiful, or living a more fulfilling life, many of us ask, why am I not like them? Or what do they have that I don't? These questions may seem harmless, but in reality, they quietly lead us to feel insecure, sad, and dissatisfied with ourselves. The rise of social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook has made this habit of comparison more common and more dangerous. Every day, we scroll through hundreds of glamorous images and videos showing joyful moments, successes, and luxurious trips. But we forget that social media only reflects a small part, often the best part of someone's life. We don't see their sadness, their struggles, or the pain they may be hiding. Comparing yourself to others is like looking only at the tip of an iceberg and using it to judge your entire worth. It's unfair, and it only exhausts us. Instead of comparing, learn to appreciate what you have. Every person has their own value, their own journey, and their own beauty. Happiness doesn't come from becoming someone else. It comes from living fully as yourself. On a peaceful morning, the story begins with a crow. You are watching the video on YouTube Tales Unfold. On a peaceful morning, a crow flew across a field and perched on a tree branch near a pond. While resting, it spotted a white swan gently gliding across the clear water. The swan's pure, gleaming feathers drew the admiration of everyone nearby. Villagers passing by couldn't stop praising its pristine beauty. They smiled, took photos, and even fed the swan as if it were a magical creature. The crow sat on the branch and watched with envy. The swan is so beautiful and loved, it thought. But I am black and ugly. No one wants to come near me. Captivated by the stark contrast between itself and the swan, the crow flew closer to the pond to get a better look. But the moment it approached, the villagers waved their hands to drive it away, afraid it would dirty the pond's surroundings. Hurt and humiliated, the crow flew off to find another branch. It couldn't stop thinking, if only I had white feathers like the swan, people would love me more. In that moment, a wish began to grow inside the crow, to become someone else, someone more beautiful, someone who would be admired and loved. And so, its journey to find the ideal self began, meeting the swan. A surprising truth. Carrying a desire to become like the swan, the crow returned to the pond where it had first seen the magnificent creature. This time, instead of observing from afar, the crow bravely flew closer and asked, "Dear swan, you are so beautiful. Your snowy white feathers make everyone admire you. You must be the happiest bird, right?" The swan looked at the crow gently, but there was a hint of sadness on its face. It replied softly, "Thank you for your kind words. Yes, my appearance brings me admiration, but you know I'm not as happy as you think." The crow was surprised. "Why not? Everyone loves you, feeds you, and takes photos with you." The swan slowly shook its head. "Because I am loved, people captured me. I no longer live freely on vast lakes like before. I now live in a confined space, constantly watched. And the thing I fear most is that when I grow old, they might kill me for meat." The swan's confession stunned the crow. It hadn't imagined that behind such admirable beauty could lie so much loneliness and fear. The crow realized that what we see on the outside doesn't always reflect the truth inside, and perhaps the swan, the bird it had longed to become, might actually envy something it had: freedom. Meeting the parrot, a new ideal. After leaving the pond, the crow continued its search for the perfect role model. Though it now knew the swan wasn't truly happy, the crow hadn't given up hope. It thought, if not the swan, then surely the parrot. Parrots have colorful feathers, green, red, yellow, so vibrant and eye-catching. Who wouldn't love a beautiful parrot? Thinking so, the crow set off to find a parrot. Eventually, it saw one perched on a branch near a house. The parrot's feathers were just as dazzling as the crow had imagined, radiant and shining in the sunlight. The crow immediately flew closer and said, "Hello, parrot. You're so beautiful. I'm sure you're the happiest bird with your colorful feathers that everyone admires." The parrot smiled, but its eyes revealed a deep weariness. It replied, "Thank you, but I'm not as happy as you think. Because of these bright feathers, I was caught and locked in a cage. I've spent my life behind bars, unable to fly freely, unable to live as I was meant to. I'm always afraid of being abandoned, afraid of losing my freedom." The crow was speechless. Once again, What it had thought was perfect was hiding a painful truth. The parrot, the ideal it had admired, was nothing more than a beautifully painted cage, concealing helplessness and solitude inside. Meeting the peacock, the final image of happiness. Even after meeting the parrot, the crow hadn't given up its dream of finding the happiest bird. It wondered, if neither the swan nor the parrot is truly joyful, then who is? After some thought, it remembered the peacock, a bird with stunning feathers and a fan-like tail that always draws admiration. The crow thought, surely that's the most admired bird. Maybe the peacock is the symbol of happiness. With that thought, the crow flew to a zoo where a peacock lived. When it arrived, it saw a large crowd gathered around the cage, admiring the peacock proudly fanning its tail. Children laughed, adults took pictures, and everyone seemed delighted. The crow, full of admiration, approached and asked, "Hello, peacock. You are so magnificent. Your feathers captivate everyone. You must be the happiest bird, right?" The peacock sighed and replied, "No, my friend. It's because of these beautiful feathers that I was captured. People often pluck them to sell. It's very painful. Though I live in a large cage, I can't fly freely. I always wish I could live like you, free, untouched, and uncaged." At that moment, the crow was shocked. The very thing it had long considered wonderful, beauty and admiration, turned out to be the price the peacock paid in pain and lost freedom. A lesson of awakening. After leaving the zoo, the crow quietly flew through the evening sky. Its mind was filled with thoughts. It remembered the swan in captivity, the parrot in a cage, and the peacock suffering for its feathers. Every bird it had once admired had traded away freedom, the most precious thing a bird can have, for glamour and human praise. Suddenly, the crow looked at itself. No dazzling feathers, no compliments from anyone, but it could fly anywhere, live in deep forests or wide fields, uncaged and free. The freedom that the beautiful birds longed for had always been within its grasp. With a heart lighter than ever, the crow returned to the old forest where it had once cried, wishing to become someone else. It sought out the old crow that had once given it advice and smiled. "Now I understand. I don't need to be a swan, a parrot, or a peacock. I'm happy being myself." The old crow nodded with satisfaction. In the glow of sunset, the crow's black feathers no longer seemed like something to be ashamed of, but a symbol of strength, freedom, and self-acceptance. The crow had finally found what it had been seeking, not outer beauty, but inner peace. The main message: cherish yourself. The crow's journey to find happiness is not just a story about a small bird, it's a lesson for all of us. In life, many of us often look at others and wish, if only I were like them. We compare ourselves to those who seem more beautiful, more successful, or more prominent, and end up feeling inferior, inadequate. But just like the crow learned, everyone has their own struggles, no matter how perfect they may appear. The swan, the parrot, and the peacock all had admirable beauty, but behind it were loneliness, fear, and hidden limitations. They weren't as happy as we imagined. Comparison only brings heartache and makes us forget the joys of what we already have. We forget that each person holds unique value and follows their own journey. What truly matters is not whether you resemble others, but whether you live honestly, freely, and peacefully within yourself. Be grateful for who you are, one of a kind and irreplaceable. Instead of trying to become someone else, learn to love yourself, with all your strengths and imperfections, because only when you appreciate yourself can you truly be happy.